know what? I think that what Helmy's talking about is so true. I think that this year could be, for people that are aggressive, could be a great year because it seems like you can't turn on the radio or the TV or read a newspaper. They're not talking about a recession. I don't know about you guys, but I fly a lot. I mean, I travel a lot, and every plane I get onto is full. Every airport I get off in is full of people. Every city I go to, there's a lot of traffic. Every city I go to, there's a lot of building, commercial building, homes being built and all that. But if you were to read the newspaper and listen to the news, you would think we were in a depression instead of a recession. And it's not true. And I think the newspapers and the TVs have got to sell news. And right now, what do we hear about Iraq? Nothing, right? Because things are going better over there. Nothing to talk about. It's not bad, right? It's more positive now, so they don't want to talk about that. But I think the dealers are going to get their heads stuck in the sand right now and think, or sales managers or what managers, whatever, and think, this is not going to be good. We got to tighten up and all that. There's a market out there, guys. I mean, they're saying that the market's only going to be 16 million vehicles new this year. Only 16 million? Well, how much of that do you need? 1/10 of 1%? 1/100th of 1%?
In 1998, Bill,
yes,
in 1998, they sold 16 million vehicles.
Yeah.
In 1998, there was a Honda dealership and a Toyota dealership on South Boulevard, and there's a little Mazda dealership stuck right in the middle. In 1998, that dealership went from 70 to 470 in 6 short months. It's not about doing it as just status quo. It's about getting your unfair share by being very aggressive in marketing, by holding your people accountable, and by working the process. Like you said, there's 16 million vehicles. What percentage does it take for you to be a millionaire?
Not only that, how many used cars are going to be sold? Nobody knows for sure, but it's going to be somewhere between 3 to 5 times the number of used cars will be sold as new cars. So, I mean, that's a tremendous, you're talking 50, 70 million cars and trucks will be sold this year. See, what you'll find out pretty quickly, and when you'll all become dealers, or those of you that are dealers, you'll either be one of two things. You'll be management by objective, which is every department stands on its own and is successful. Or you'll be return on investment. Now, let me give you 2 examples. I've got a store that makes $50,000 a month, and it's profitable in all the departments. I've got another store, and what's that? $600,000 a year. Okay. And I've got another store that makes $2 million a year, but it loses money everywhere except the used car department. But it only loses about $100,000, and it makes $2 million in the used car department every year. Which store would you rather have? So I guess everybody's pretty much a return on investment guy here, right? Or a woman here, rather than management by objectives, because management by objectives used to be very, very popular. Everybody's got to stand on their own, and I'm not saying that they don't stand on their own, because they should all stand on their own. And that's what we try to do. We don't have parts gross transfer. I'm not going to get into that in our composites because we feel like it's a crutch for the service department to transfer the gross into the service department. But without question, I think anybody would want to have a better return. What are you in this for? Is to make more money, right? Management by objectives is a great term. Every department stands on its own, and it should. And one of the most demoralizing things in life is for a manager to be working or a dealer to own a business that's losing money, or a manager to work in a failing department that's not profitable. I forget the number of what it is, but it's death is the worst, divorce, separation, and then working for a failing business or a business that's not making money. Very, very extremely demoralizing. So that's why management by objectives is important. If a department's not doing well, who wants to work in a department that's constantly losing money? I know I sure would want to. Yes, sir, Helm?
I'm out. I'm not interested. You have a business that is losing money, or you got a department that's not performing. That's not something that you need to tolerate. Not after 2,000 or 3,000, 4,000 years ago, we built the pyramids. And now we can't even turn profit on a department that is supposed to make profit, and everywhere else in the whole world, they're making money, and you decide not to make money in that department. I think that you need to seek help, seek knowledge, and go get the heart that you deserve, that what started your business, which is that entrepreneurial spirit that you have.
Well, you got to build too. Just like it's in the Suzuki store. Your store wasn't profitable in service, and partially because you guys didn't have enough units yet in operation. You can't manufacture them. You can do it you can hide it by throwing more reconditioning on your used cars and putting that extra recon into the service department, but it doesn't help your parts department. And you just got to build it. So that's what we used to always talk about. Let's forget about fixed, remember? And let's concentrate on sales.
And obviously what we did with that particular department, we were giving it 25% of our expenses because we were going by the book. And that's another thing that I want you to talk about. Should we go 25, 25, 25, 25 with all the departments?
No.
And that's what we were doing. And if we would take that 3 Bay area that we had and put the right expenses on it, chances are it would not have been losing money. But that wasn't exactly my decision.
Right, okay, let's use Lexus again as an example. You know, our guide is that the new vehicle department gets 33% of the expenses. Used car department gets 20%. Now, in a Lexus store, would that be fair? I wouldn't think so. I think a Lexus store would be closer to 40, 45% in the new vehicle department because they make so much money. And I don't know very many Lexus dealers are making a lot of money in the used car department. Where they're making it is new vehicle, service, and parts. Like that Ford group I was with last week, it's very successful. They're making it in used cars, service and parts, and F&I.
I'd like to jump in here on that because if you get an across-the-board policy, whether it's 25, 25, 25, 25, that's not representative. It's not really telling you what each department's doing. And I submit that what you ought to do is take every individual expense and see who benefits from it. In other words, if you got uniforms for the service department, why should anybody else pay for that besides service? It should all go to service. It probably does. How you allocate the rent is a big question. I've heard all kinds of theories. Most of it should go to the sales departments because they're taking up most of the property. I've also heard that you allocate a bunch of it to the shop because they've got the bigger square footage in the buildings. There's not necessarily a right answer, but you use some kind of methodology that makes sense depending on where your store is located. If you're in an urban area, then you're going to have more building and less ground. If you're in a more rural area, you're going to have more ground and less building probably in the ratios. And so you got to kind of look at it on a one-by-one basis, but take every expense and see how it's being allocated on your statement.
But the one key about that, though, is that the expenses need to remain consistent.
Yes.
You can't be bouncing all over the place because if you do that, you come back a year later and you can't remember, well, what were we doing last year?
You mean you can't change it quarterly?
I know.
No.
Or weekly?
Or monthly.
Or monthly?
No, you shouldn't.
Not if you want to make any sense to you, you can't, that's for sure.
Because you're looking for consistency and comparability.
Hey guys, we're going to go for another 20 minutes and take a break. So if there's certain things that you want to cover before you take the break, that'll be great. And then we're going to bring you guys back and have a lot of questions answered. And